Hello listeners, and welcome back to Advancing Education, Alberta's #1 student leader podcast, where we talk about student issues, news, conduct interviews, and all other kinds of stuff like that. After a long hiatus, we're starting a new season and a new series, the Leaders Series, where we interview current students of ASEC and the future leaders of our province. I'm your host, Dalton Leary. Let's jump in. Hello again, and welcome back to Advancing Education. I am joined this month by ASEC's own Naomi Pella and SAMHC's Alysha Kuntz. How y'all doing today?
Doing all right.
Yeah, doing really good, thanks.
That's great to hear. We are joining you today from Olds at our Goals Conference. It's a pleasure to be able to have another in-person interview, something that I wasn't really expecting to have. So it's exciting, and we're ready to go here. So
Absolutely.
let's open it up here, and why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
For sure, thank you. So I recently just graduated at Medicine Hat College for the business diploma. I'm hoping to specialize in accounting, so I get to come back next year and do the advanced accounting certificate that we've recently been able to develop, and I'm excited about that. I am the president right now for the Students Association, and this is actually my second year being a part of our Student Association in Medicine Hat College.
Nice.
Yeah. So last year I was the VP internal, so I got to deal with appeals and financials and policies. And this year, as president, I'll get to go through our strat plan and kind of oversee some of the executives and support them.
Definitely.
Awesome.
What about you, Naomi? You weren't on the last podcast. Why don't you introduce yourself too?
Of course, absolutely. My name is Naomi Pella, as you mentioned. I am the Director of Operations and Finance at ASEC. I was a previous student leader for a couple of years, and very excited to be able to continue the important work that this organization does and to connect with the students. It was really nice to have this week to discuss all of the important priorities that students are bringing forward. So yeah, it's been a good week.
Good. So let's start to talk about SAMHC and what made you want to go into student leadership in the first place.
So for student leadership, I actually had the opportunity of going to another university for 3 years, and I was not very involved.
Which university?
University of Regina.
Oh, Saskatchewan.
Yes, born and raised.
Nice.
Very
Yeah. So I felt like I missed out a lot, and I always have had a passion just for helping others. I was in biochemistry before, so I definitely did a little bit of a swap of majors.
Bit of a change.
Yeah. But previously, I really wanted to go into it to help my mom for biochemistry, and she has just a genetic disease. So I really wanted to help for that, and I realized that even coming to Medicine Hat College, students need help finding their voice and advocate for things that really matter for education. So I thought a student leadership position would be really great because I want to give back and I have a passion for helping others.
It's wonderful. It's amazing.
It's a really good reason to go to school and try to pick your major based on family. This is something that I don't think a lot of people even try to think about. So very noble of you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you mentioned that you were in the role previously. You were in the internal role, you said,
Yes.
and now you're the president of SAMHC.
Yes.
What would you say is like your biggest change from going from that internal role into the president?
So the biggest change for that is that I really had a passion for being the VP internal and helping advocate for students and taking the time sitting with them and walking them through that appeal process. Medicine Hat College specifically last year had quite a large quantity of academic appeals, non-academic appeals, and instructor complaints. And so it felt really good being able to actually sit down with the students and have serious conversation and help them, because it can be really overwhelming for students to go through that process. So I think not being able to always have my foot in the door for that and help for our new VP internal can be a little bit challenging for me because I want to be that person.
Right.
Yeah.
So that would be the biggest change for me.
Have you enjoyed taking on like the
say so. I love it because I really want to have more personal and professional growth. And I feel like the two different roles, the internal is quite scaled back, and it's more of a one-to-one conversation or a 1 to 3 conversation. But being in this presidential role, especially being a part of the Board of Governors, I feel like I have more of a voice at the table, and we're making more influential decisions, and I really appreciate that. And I'm going into more of the public speaking side, which in the past I haven't always been very comfortable with.
Right.
It can be very, very challenging for me on a personal level, but I love that I get to push myself in this new role, and that's kind of exactly what I wanted, what I was looking for.
Yeah, that's amazing, and it sounds like I've done a bit of reflecting on the past year, and it's very cool to see your perspective coming into the new role, and also applying that same desire to help others in this role. It sounds like you're still aiming for that, so very cool. Thank you.
Have you had any chance to do any public speaking engagements yet since you've been president?
Not too many for the public relations, but I know at our convocation that we recently had, I was able to present the Instructor of the Year award. And something fun that we're able to do this year is because due to COVID, we haven't been able to celebrate the recent graduates of the past 3 years.
Yeah.
So it's been a bit of a challenge. So we did something fun where we were able to have a morning ceremony set for two of the previous grad years, and then the most current one in the afternoon. So I got to be a part of both ceremonies and speaking in front of 500 people in the morning, over 800 in the afternoon. It was definitely overwhelming, but you know, I did it, I conquered it, and it feels good, and it was really great opportunity to be a part of.
Yeah, that's great practice. You started off strong there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was supposed to be my convocation, so you would have been speaking to me if I didn't have to drive 6.5 hours for it.
Yeah, a little bit of distance.
Yeah. So what have you started working on so far at the SA this year?
So something that we've started working on this year for the Students Association at MHC specifically has to do with the onboarding process and new student orientation for international students.
Oh, nice.
A lot of my appeals had a lot of academic misconduct or plagiarism for international students, and we just really want to be proactive on that because we know the challenges that they had to undertake to come to our institution.
Yeah.
So we just kind of want to help support them and get ahead of the game and educate them a little bit on how our policies work, appeal processes work, and help them and support them so that way they're not sinking when they get here.
Right, yeah. Is your population of international students pretty big?
We're currently sitting at 7%, but considering my appeals were at least 50% international students revolving around that area, we thought that it was a really big priority for us
Yeah,
to
definitely, 100%.
advocate for.
Yeah, it's a lot to navigate, and like you said, being in as an international student, there are a lot of different rules and approaches to that. So it's great to hear that you're prioritizing that.
Yes.
What is your pie in the sky goal for this year then? Like what do you want to get accomplished this year, and it's going to be like the big kahuna?
So something that I really want to get accomplished for this next year is we've been having some issues surrounding our transition between executives. It's a pretty big issue, and I've also been learning while being here that it's been a common issue surrounding other institutions for their students associations.
Yeah. I mean, you took the role over from the person who took the role over from me, and that was a problem when I was doing it. So it's definitely been something that's been on the radar for a super long time. And I've found too that a lot of the institutions, like you said, are having that exact same issue. It's tough to know what to tell somebody in the short amount of time that you have to tell them. And then if you don't keep that connection going for a little bit longer after, it just falls apart, and then that person's not successful, and then the whole thing, everything that you started starts to unravel, and then you just can't build any momentum.
And it's, I think, especially also
student leaders that come into these positions, because they are really big roles to fill, and we just want to make sure that they have the knowledge at least to back them up moving forward.
Absolutely.
Definitely. So we're gonna kind of start to get into some ASEC specific things. We're sitting here at goals, like I said earlier. We've selected a little bit of our priorities here, but what would you say is your prediction for ASEC's priorities this year?
Interesting. Well, I for sure think for number one, the tuition. And I think it's one of the most important ones, just because, well, we just got out of the 777s, which it's been a little bit tough for some students. And current with where inflation is currently sitting is rather high, and it's kind of reflecting those 777s again. So I think that for us to tie tuition to that long run inflation rate with the 15-year rolling average would be really beneficial for students. So I could see us definitely prioritizing that, because it is probably the most prevalent. We want students to be able to afford and actually attend different institutions here in Alberta. So.
Yeah, 777s in Vegas, good. 777s in tuition, not good.
Bad.
Is that where you put your sticker? Is that your number one priority, tuition?
We were a little bit more strategic. We saw all the stickers and we knew, well, what's our we did the math. But no, it was definitely the top of our radar for sure.
And what about federally? What'd you choose over on the federal side?
For the federal side, we thought that it was very important for international students to have their supports. Having a cap on them being able to go and work in Alberta has been quite a struggle. They're not able to really afford, especially with inflation, the standard of living. So we think that from our organization, we really want to prioritize that, and especially with Alberta 2030, to have an intake up to 40% on our campuses. We don't want them to sink, and financial stress can be a little bit of an issue for that.
20 hours a week is definitely a difficult parameter to work with, especially when your tuition is so high.
Yeah, and with the smaller schools too, there's so much less opportunity to actually work on campus. So you can have like 5 jobs for 40% of your population. It just doesn't work out. What's one of the goals that has been picked or was left off that you thought would be significant but isn't, or is significant but you thought it wouldn't be?
So for that question, I have to say the transfer credit system. And to me, it's really surprising, because especially from an Alberta institution to institution, you would think that there would be easy credit transfers, but there's not, especially when the classes might just have a different name, or they have the similar learning outcomes that you would expect to receive from taking a class. So it's a little bit frustrating for students. You're paying all this money, and just to have to go and retake the classes just because you transferred, it's a prevalent issue, but I think that it's really frustrating for students and expensive.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's obviously not going to fall off the radar.
No, 100%.
But,
Did any of your classes transfer from your biotech course in Saskatchewan?
No, they did not.
that's a good question.
How many did you have to retake?
There were 4 that I had to retake. They are very different programs, but it would have been nice to save X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's like $2,000 pretty much just threw away.
Yeah.
Well, and the time, I mean, that's pretty much a semester of courses.
Yeah.
Opportunity cost. What could I spend my time doing?
Right.
Yeah.
With taking those courses, which institution provided a better education?
It's a good question. So because of
No
going,
bias, of course.
no bias, it's fine. So there's definitely pros and cons, but I felt that from going from a university to a college has more personalized classes, smaller classes, and I was able to actually build really great relationships with my instructors. So I appreciated that aspect, and for student leadership, I felt like I was able It's true. It is true. I love that.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
What were some of the goals outside of tuition that SAMHC was targeting this year, provincially?
Provincially, shocking, it was actually the transfer system. Especially being a college, we think that we are a stepping stone to get students to go to those universities, so it's really valuable for us to have our credits and classes be able to transfer to other institutions.
Yeah, coming from like a smaller community, and you don't have those institutions available nearby, and you have to transfer. Do most students transfer over to like Calgary or?
Yeah, Calgary is a big one. Most of our students end up going there. And then we also have noticed that Athabasca has had a big intake of students, online learning.
Do you know offhand how many degrees Medicine Hat offers now?
No, but I do know that we've reduced the amount because we can't grant degrees.
Oh yeah, we had the partnerships with, I'm not with Medicine Hat College, the partnership with Mount Royal there and UFC.
And that's no longer existing.
Oh, really?
They cut the partnership with Mount Royal, unfortunately. I was going to be taking that, yeah.
Wow,
So
okay.
there was a lot of frustration, so we're hoping to build up future partnerships. We know that our executives of the college have been listening to us, and they know that the students really did value that, so we're hoping that we can find other partnerships so that way we can get students degrees for the business.
Yeah, that would be a pretty good blow, right?
Yeah, it was. Lots of staff were cut.
That's too bad. That was a really good program. It was quite enjoyable to be able to be in Medicine Hat, like you said, having that opportunity to have those like one-on-one conversations with instructors and build that relationship is something that I really value. So if they're not granting those degrees anymore, what's your plan after you finish this accounting program?
So once I'm finished accounting, I just want to be able to have a business degree. I thought that accounting was definitely one that I took to, and I think it would be better to be when I want to be a business owner. So I think that would be a really good background for me to have. And for becoming a business owner, I really want to start my own company for building net zero houses.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah, my partner, he's a journeyman carpenter, and so he'll know more of the leading innovative technology side of things for the net zero homes, and then I'll be able to actually brand him and start our business up from scratch.
Well, that's a great partnership right there.
But you won't be able to finish school in Medicine Hat. Are you going? Where are you going to go? You know.
Either I want to be able to do it virtually because I have a condo in Medicine Hat, I have a house in Medicine Hat, so I want to keep those there. I want to hold on to them a little bit longer.
Sure.
And so I'm hoping to look at transferring, maybe to either Athabasca or Okanagan just for online learning.
Yeah, I guess that's the other thing with that partnership having fallen through is that students who normally would stay within the community and have family there or in supports and all that aren't going to be able to have that anymore if they have to move. So
It's such a great small community, and I know that there's a lot of value there, and so we want our students to be able to stay in Medicine Hat.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's almost another one of our goals, the graduate retention program, but a little bit less detailed, I suppose.
Yeah, hasn't quite been developed as much.
Yeah, it's a little further down the line.
Yeah.
So I guess going back to the ASEC goals and what you've chosen for your priorities this year, so what do you think we as ASEC need to do this year to get those goals across the finish line?
I think specifically when we had our positional breakout groups today, there was a lot of benefit that I saw where we were able to chat and set up future meetings with each other and future communication communication channels.
Right.
So that way, when the board of directors is working on these priorities and goals for the year, they can actually have a little bit more support from the rest of the organization, the rest of the members.
Yeah.
So if they need more surveys done, more research done, that could be a really fun project for our VP external, for myself to do if I am available for that. And I know that other student leaders are interested and they really want to help and be more involved.
Yeah.
So it could be a great opportunity for us to get some of these goals accomplished.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Are you on the board of directors? Board of directors?
Yes, at my institution, I am on board of governors.
Yeah, right, yeah, so, I think that's really, it was really cool to hear the, points that came out of the conversation breakouts, very practical, action items that students can take, and, we look forward as staff to be able to support that, because it really helps our organization move forward, these priorities, so, yeah, that's awesome.
So that being said, what would you say is like the biggest takeaway for you this week? Like, what is something that really impacted you and that you're gonna take back to your SA and work on with your people and make Shelby do a ton of work and build a bunch of posters?
That's exactly what I'm gonna do. Poor Shelby.
Nice.
My biggest takeaway, I think, is the networking piece and just knowing all of our priorities that we have set. In our presidential breakout group, it was mentioned that doing a presentation to our board of governors on ASEC's priorities would be amazing. It'd be really valuable just so that way our institution knows where we're headed with asks federally and provincially, so that way they can plan and be prepared, or to give ASEC and student leaders a little bit of credit too when these wins are here.
I think too, Medicine Hat College's president is a big part of CAPOA. Like, is he not? He's on the board of CAPOA. Is that correct?
Well, he's definitely a member.
Yeah.
But I know of him that he's very student focused, president, and he's very open to student feedback and collaboration. So
Yeah, he works a lot with us. We have our monthly meetings set up, and if we need to have more conversations, we can have those meetings, and it's very open door policy, which is great. I know that lots of the institutions don't always have that,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's really beneficial.
makes a huge difference.
It does.
Yeah,
It really does.
that relationship and collaboration.
Yeah, and even asking questions. I know it can be really intimidating to actually go up to those administration and
Yes.
executives. So to have that comfortability, reports built up, when we actually have really big issues that we want to speak about, we feel more confident going in.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's great to hear.
It is.
Yeah, it's funny when everyone's talking about that consultation piece, and you're probably just sitting there like, oh well, like, look how sweet we are.
Yeah, we're good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Alysha. Well, it was an absolute pleasure to be able to interview you today, and like I said, awesome to have you in person and to have the whole SAMHC team here in Olds was amazing after not seeing you guys in leadership, and we really hope that you guys are going to take a lot away from this and be able to go back to Medicine Hat and really start to enact some change. So, thank you again. It was like I said, an absolute pleasure. It was a great interview.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm very happy that my whole team could be here this time. I know we missed a little bit for leadership for sure, but we took a lot away from goals.
Amazing. Glad to hear it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Thanks again to our guest, and thank you for tuning in. If you like this interview and want to learn more about ASEC, check us out at albertastudents.ca or follow us on social media at Alberta Students on all major platforms. Until next time, this is Advancing Education.